Sunday. It's late in the afternoon. I was gonna sit on my ass for the rest of the day and pass out and drink beer, but I felt like coming out and talking about something to you guys, because that's what you do when you're a motovlogger, right? If something comes on your mind, you come out and talk about it. And I thought it would be good to talk about my experience on a Ninja 250, because a lot of you guys on my channel are newer riders or thinking about getting into riding, and you like ask me like questions about like what's a good first bike. I'm buying this. Should I get a Ninja 300? Should I get a 500? So the Ninja 250 that I own was a 2000 model. It was still carbureted, and it was one of those boxy Ninjas. I mean, it's ugly. It was Kawasaki green, which I fell in love with Kawasaki green because of that bike. If it didn't have Kawasaki green, I don't know, there would be nothing aesthetically that stood out to me about it, but it was an ugly bike, and I still think it's an ugly bike. I'm not gonna tell you like I'm one of those people that's like, oh, this is a classic look and blah blah blah, and look at those lines for the old times. So that's the one I had. After that, they did upgrade it to the Ninja 250R, which has the new body style that you guys see now, before it got bumped up to the 300. But same deal, it's like 27 horsepower or something like that. 27, 30 horsepower. I think the 300 has maybe like 35, something like that. Close enough, right? But this is going to be a more generalization of riding a small bike. And I'll show you pictures. I have plenty of pictures of my Ninja 250. Most of them that I'm going to pop up here. That's actually me on my Ninja 250. So let's talk about the high points of it and how I actually got that bike. It was a funny story. I was actually in college at the time. I hadn't been riding for a couple of years. This was after the CBR. And in college, it's like you don't want to have really a motorcycle. At least I didn't want to have a motorcycle, because I was living in like dorms and apartments and shit where all your stuff gets stolen and trashed. College basically don't have any nice vehicles because it's gonna get fucked up. What up, bruh? But anyways, I got that itch and I wanted to get a bike, but I didn't have a lot of money because I'm like a broke ass college kid, so I had like $1,000. So what did I do? One of my buddies had actually left the university, but he still had his Ninja 250 sitting in the bedroom of his apartment, and his roommate at the time was like trying to sell it for him. He was in freaking Egypt, and he's not coming back to the States at all. He is not coming back. But the Ninja was still sitting there. So we went over there. It's been sitting there for like 2 or 3 months, I think, in the bedroom. It smelled like fucking tires and gasoline when we got in there. Rolled it out. Did not start. Especially with carbureted bikes, oh my god, trying to start a carbureted bike that no one took care of. You didn't winterize it, put any stable in there. You don't know the condition of the battery. You're dealing with a seller that's freaking on the other side of the world. Eventually, after much time, probably about an hour of trying to crank it and flooding the carbs and all this other shit, we finally got it to idle. It idled like shit. That's how I ended up getting the Ninja 250. $1,000 PayPal to a guy in Egypt. Anyways, you'll probably expect me to say like all the normal things that you hear about a small bike. It's really light, it's flickable, blah blah blah. That's true. Do you want me to talk about power? Because that's the thing that it seems like most people get hung up on a small bike. My experience and your experience are going to be completely different unless you weigh 140 pounds. That's as simple as I can put it. Pounds make difference on bikes. Your weight makes a huge difference on a bike of how much performance you're actually going to get out of it. 27 horsepower or 30 horsepower, whatever the hell that thing was. The bike weighs 300 pounds. I weigh 140. When I start getting on it, yeah, it feels pretty good. It's not bad, to be completely honest. It's not a bad feeling bike. Is it super fast? No. It's like the same speed as like, I don't know, what is a 14-second car these days? Probably your mom's Honda Accord V6 is probably as fast as a Ninja 250. But you get this visceral feeling when you're out in the open and there's wind hitting you and all this other shit that feels fine. And usually people aren't pinning it in their freaking Honda V6 Accord unless they're like, you know, that type of guy. However, in traffic, I did not always feel confident in that on that bike. I mean, you can feel that the bike is small, right? And when you're next to like cars, you feel tiny. Like on this bike, it's lightweight bike, but I don't feel small. Like I feel like I have a presence on the road. You know, I don't know. It's a weird thing. I can't describe it. I guess it would be the same as me saying I felt like I was riding a scooter in traffic on the actual road. And I wasn't that confident that I could maneuver around as quickly as far as like speed, like going in and out and shit of traffic. Like if something was about to go down and I needed to freaking twist it, I didn't feel like that bike could actually get me out of it. It would be like, it'd be the equal of me. Like this car in front of me, I'm gonna get around him. I want to get around him, but I'm not gonna have that instantaneous like zoom. Like when I pass him, like if I was doing it on a Ninja, that's fast. Like I have no problem passing him. If I was just doing it on the Ninja, I would have to plan for it as if I was in a car. But that bike was very forgiving. I mean, you could fuck up on it as much as you want, and it wouldn't punish you. For example, like if you downshift too hard on a bike, you guys know you're gonna lock up your rear wheel. I've done that before on the Ninja, and when I locked up the rear wheel, it was super controllable just because of how light it was and how small it was. I was able to just like overpower it just with myself, like my own body weight. On a bigger bike, that's probably a lot harder to do. I feel like it was a lot easier to deal with if you overcook a turner. Overcook a turn. Overcook a freaking God, why can't I say this? It was a lot easier to deal with if you overcooked a turn. Good God. Why can't I talk today? Just because of that instance, because it's like so light and maneuverable. The best part about smaller bikes is the price, because they're cheap. I mean, that's a huge thing. If you guys are like really on a budget, right? Like super duper on a budget, you could probably get one of those old boxy Ninja 250s for like $700, $800 for real. For real, guys. Like compared to the Ninja 300 that you're gonna buy now for about like $2,500 or so, you get one of those for a lot cheaper. And maybe even one of the Ninja 250s that have the newer body but still are carbureted and shit, like you might be able to get one of those for like 2,000 bucks or whatever. But at any rate, any new bike that you're gonna get into riding, I always suggest that you get like a really cheap bike. Not one that's gonna be super expensive, because you're probably gonna fuck it up. You're gonna drop it, you're gonna do all this shit to it. So wouldn't it be better for you to not freaking worry about it? Especially if you're gonna get rid of it after a while, and you let's say you overgrow it, like a lot of people say. I can't tell you if you're gonna do that or not. Everyone's different, but if you're gonna overgrow that bike, wouldn't you want it to be like a cheap as hell thing that you're gonna flip and not lose money on? That's my take on it. But then again, I also know that a lot of people get into motorcycling because it's like a glam thing. It's like, oh, I look fucking badass in it. What are you guys still doing here? Click that subscribe button. It's not gonna hurt you. Go ahead, click it right here. Go on, keep doing it here. Click now!